interview here with Miss Meg Watson. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We have Meg Watson from Charleston, South Carolina on our Mega Impact Your Business Mega Agent. She has been in the real estate industry for over 20 years now, which is hard to believe. I think she started when she was 12. Like me.
That's what I say. It sounds better that way.
She's a really great friend. We've known each other for over 10 years now. We worked together in the Charlotte market, and now she's back in Charleston, where she loves, in my hometown. So so glad to have you here with us today, Meg, and I would love to share a little bit about your background. We might tell you a little about your story and how you got into real estate, and maybe a little about your family.
For sure. Thank you, first of all, for having me today. It's awesome seeing you guys because I miss you so much. I usually get to interact face-to-face with you a lot more than we have these last couple of months. So thanks again. Yes, so July will be 26 years that I have been full-time in the real estate industry. I guess you could say I've worn just about every hat during that time that there is to wear. Going way back, I was actually raised by parents in the real estate industry. So I guess it was kind of learned by osmosis over the years. I got my degree in broadcast journalism, moved here to Charleston, quickly learned that those deadlines for the amount of pay that you get were not really my cup of tea. And I fell in love with the area, and I did not want to leave. Actually had a job offer in Atlanta, and I turned it down and said, I'm getting my real estate license and I'm going to stay here. So this is home. It's coming up on 29 years living in this city and helping most amazing people with their home buying and home selling here. So I went into real estate in 94, sold full-time for 10 years, was rookie of the year, all that fun stuff. I was asked to go into leadership with the #1 company here in Charleston, an independent here, and had a great career with them for 16 years. Then I was offered a position in Charlotte, and that's luckily how I got to meet you guys, and I was up there 5 years. Went with Keller Williams during that time and came back and was with Keller Williams 7 years until I got the phone call from you saying I should check out eXp Realty. So that's been, gosh, can you believe 3 years ago right now was when you called me. And I have been on board with eXp just about 2.5 years. So October 1, 2017 was when I made the move. So I did go into leadership for quite a while with those two large companies. I was a broker in charge, director of recruiting. So I'm used to juggling a lot of hats and managing people. I always call it herding cats when you're trying to manage real estate agents. So when you called me, Shelley, I remember one of the things you said was that you knew as a personal friend of mine that I did miss some things about leadership. I had gone back into sales to have more time with my awesome kids and kind of had a transitional time in my life for about 5 years and loved being back into sales, but there were a few things I really missed. So eXp has definitely helped to fill that void of building a culture and growing a team and supporting people.
You've done a great job of that in Charleston. What a great person to lead that market down there and help so many agents. And you've got some really top agents in eXp with you. And the funny thing is, you don't have like a brick and mortar office, do you?
Nope. No, this is my home office right here. It's funny. My son was here with his girlfriend the past 40 days. And this table you see behind me kind of turned into like their little quasi bar area. So they left yesterday morning and my office is back to feeling like normal. So no, I do not. I rented an office for about the first year and I just found I was never there. I mean, you know, with today's technology and all these Zoom calls that we are constantly on, helping each other and collaborating and growing, and, you know, being able to have physical meetings with my team without an office space, I gave it up after a year. It sat there. So now this is so much more convenient. Although I will say I'm getting tired of looking at these four walls over the past few months.
A lot of our meetings we do when we do meet with agents, we do live meetings. We meet locally right there in the Charleston market. But most everything we do as agents doesn't need or require an office, and
Right.
we're able to highly help our clients, especially with the EXP. We have so many great tools, the best in the industry as far as helping our clients achieve their goals.
Right.
And we're so forward thinking that we've really been unaffected with internally. I mean, the real estate market's shifting, changing, but internally is how we work as a company. And Craig would agree that we've been able to just kind of pull together and, help each other even more through this time, because we didn't have to make any crazy pivot or shift or whatever you want to call it. We've been able to just keep focused on our clients, which in turn has turned into more transactions for agents. I mean, that's what we're seeing in our Charlotte market.
Right. It's really interesting. And, people call us the disruptor in the real estate industry.
Mm-hmm.
However, when COVID hit, we were the stability in the real estate industry. We have, really gotten so much recognition as being the safe haven for realtors during this time. So recognition for not just the company, but for all the tools we provide for our, which, has actually done well through this time. Everything has been nothing but positive from our end. The fact that we pulled off our shareholder summit last week with like 6,000 people at a time in a virtual campus, learning and growing and expanding. 5 years ago, even, I would have said, no way, no way. And the fact that we didn't have to jump in and learn any new tools when COVID hit. Like, so many people, when I say, let's do a Zoom call, they're going, what's Zoom? I'm like, oh my gosh, we have, we've been utilizing this in our virtual spaces for the past several years. So I think it's just been so eye-opening at how far ahead of the curve we really are.
Yeah, I think the technology's really helped with, as you said, in the shareholders to hold a conference virtually. I believe the total attendance for that conference was 9,700 agents attended that conference in a virtual world, which is crazy because a real conference, which we have also at EXP. There's two national conferences a year that we all do in person also, but those conferences are usually around 2,000 to 3,000 agents maximum, and it's a lot of planning. But even on a weekly level, I think the technology helps attendance dramatically, and it keeps everybody engaged at a much higher level, because with life as busy as it is these days, it's very hard to go into a meeting or drive to the office, or where there's so many different ways that we can attend these meetings, and a lot of them are also taped. So, I mean, we have so many different things at our fingertips, which has really helped.
I think that's definitely something I can say about EXP is I don't miss any kind of commute. Shelley, you're familiar with Mount Pleasant. Everyone thinks, oh, it's only 10 minutes from here to there. No, it's not. Not with traffic, and I live on the north end. So, yeah, I definitely. It's been fun. I think more than anything, you guys, COVID for us has been just even more validation. And I love being able to say that about, a company that I work for during such a trying time for everyone, to be able to look back and go, that was comforting to know that nothing was changing, and we weren't getting emails going, okay, we're closing the office, or we're doing this, and so can't work, and we're having to let this many people go that you work with on a daily basis in your branch. It's just been smooth sailing, which is extremely comforting.
It's interesting, Meg, because now instead of focusing on changing and figuring everything out, we've been able to actually help other small businesses, which I love what you and your group did in Charleston. Would you share a little bit about what that looked like? I mean, it gave you time to be able to do something for somebody else, which I think that's the biggest thing we get. The biggest gift with this company is when we get time, freedom, and security.
Right. One of the things that I've been saying, and you've heard me say this, Shelley, is I used to be involved in a charity here in Charleston, and I've really kind of just been looking for where I want to get involved, and time. Time is so critical. I really have put a lot of time and energy into growing the Charleston EXP culture over the last couple of years, which is fun. It's only because I wanted to, I didn't have to. But time, do you want to spend your time? So when this hit, we all had a second to step back and breathe. And I will say, I think number one, out of every benefit, I think there have been a lot of benefits of COVID, but number one, I would say all the time I've had with my family. I mean, my kids and I, oh my gosh, we have spent so much time together, and they're just like, Mom, you're so relaxed. So I would say number one, it's relaxed me. I think for everybody, we just had more time to reflect and more time to find things to do, especially at first. So I actually took the idea from you guys, Shelley. I saw that you were doing an event with a local restaurant up there. One of our EXP agents in your area, her daughter actually owns a local place there. You guys had done an event with a guitarist and on Zoom and all this, and I thought, that's what I want to do, like spend time giving back. So we have an amazing leadership council here with EXP in Charleston. I want to give them huge kudos. Some amazing leaders that are working with me this year to do events and things. So we put our heads together on a Zoom call within the first week, and I said, let's do beer, bands, and bites. And we were able to, through that event for I think we did 5 straight weeks, support local restaurants who, as we all know, have just suffered so drastically through this time. We were able to support local musicians, guitar players, singers, and also, just bring recognition to EXP within the area at the same time. So it didn't cost anyone a penny, just some time on my part, which I was more than happy to do. And we pulled off some really awesome live concerts with dinner specials going on each Friday evening for 5 weeks. And, the text messages and the phone calls that I received and passed along to the leadership group from these restaurants and from these musicians that were able to get tips. And it just filled my heart during a time when you're kind of like, what do we do? What can we do to help? So that was phenomenal. I've actually had 3 people this week say, have you stopped doing those? Right? I'm like, well, our restaurants here opened back up, limited capacity. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe pulling one more together for next week. I knew with the holiday this week was going to be a little challenging. So it was fun, super fun. And we were very happy to be able to give back, to the community.
And your local board, I think, recognized what you did as one of the most, they recognized you for being a part of the community and what you did for the community, which I thought was so cool. And you didn't even know about it. I think
I didn't even know. Yeah, one of the leadership team members was sneaky, and next thing I know, she's like, here's a little thing that that CTAR did on you. I'm like, what? It wasn't just me, it was all of us. So, but yeah, it really was rewarding, so that was great.
It's funny, the small things. I mean, EXP does so many big, huge things for us as agents. It's amazing the small little things, and they're not little. Like what you did was a big deal for those local businesses. But there's so many other things that fall out of being a part of this company that people don't like. I was looking at a slide yesterday and had our numbers on. I'm like, those are really incredible numbers to run your business off of.
Yeah.
But like, people don't really understand the impact of what that really means, getting your cap back at 16,000 when you icon, and how that turns into quadruple what it was worth when you got it. So
because of the stock having time to grow. Yeah.
From $16,000 to $64,000. So
yeah.
I mean, that's just incredible to me. And then what that does is it gives us a sense of like, when something crazy happens, like a pandemic like this, and no one expected, talk about the sense of security the company's provided you.
100%. Yeah, I was going to say, before the security part, I didn't know anything like this was ever going to exist, right? And one of the things Craig mentioned earlier was he just wanted me to talk a little bit about what were my feelings after being in the industry that long, having a good, solid reputation, having you guys call me and say, this company only has 3,000 agents in it, but nationwide, but we want you to be partners with us in this. And I thought, I want to go back to what I felt in the industry prior to this opportunity coming up. And that was, it's an industry that I live, breathe, sleep, and eat. I love it. I think it's so special to be able to, anytime someone says, what do you do for a living? Before EXP, now, whenever, I've always been passionate about this industry and love it. So I was always passionate about it. I was always successful in it. I was always very proud to be in it, but I did have frustrations, right? My frustrations with this industry were the same that my parents had. They were the same that my sisters had that were also in the business. And that was, where do we go after our next transaction? And you know me well, Shelley, and I think we all learn about ourselves as we grow. And the number one thing that makes me calm is financial security. And I don't think that's rare. The number one thing that makes me anxious is lack of financial security. So if I ever lose sleep at night, I'm a high-strung girl, I'm high speed, but I sleep well. But if I lose sleep, it's because I wake up going, I wonder if those two closings are going to go through. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we had a water leak at that one. If that one doesn't close, da 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 da. So you're only as good as your next transaction. And I didn't understand how we never could have any security. And I think that was the only frustrating piece to being in this business, right? When EXP came along, I will say that both of my parents had passed away within a year of each other. It had been a very few years. I went through a divorce, moved back to Charleston with my kids, which was the best part of it all, but, was grieving a lot of loss. And when I digested this model, when you called me and said, Meg, I need you to look into this because we're thinking about moving our team over, I watched a webinar on it. I did some reading on it. And I remember thinking, gosh, I wish I could pick up the phone and call my mom and dad, because they would have been on fire. Like, Meg, this is something that we always wanted to have, a company that provides you with the opportunity to not just have your next transaction as your only security. So between the stock and the revenue share opportunities that are there, I knew I would always sell real estate. I knew that I wanted an exit strategy. I don't think I'll be very attractive putting signs in the yard when I'm 90. That was one of my first thoughts. And I was actually thinking about that the other day. It was the anniversary of my dad's death. And I thought, gosh, I wish I could just have a conversation with him, because I know they've been watching and they've been excited. So those were my frustrations. When you called me, not to share too much personally, but I was in a phase of life where my son was really going through a rough time. Kind of gotten in with the wrong crowd. So that had happened in conjunction with becoming a single parent for the first time in my life. I had been married my entire adult life. So here I was, just like, I felt like treading water. I was like, I'm keeping my head above water. I'm keeping him from going completely, his nose is above water. And I'm trying to sell real estate, and I got this call from you saying, hey, you got to check this out. And my first thought was, I need the stability that I have right now. There's no way I could make a move of any kind and make a leap of faith, which at that time, EXP Realty really was a leap of faith. No one had heard of it. And so fear gripped me. I am not going to lie. I was so fearful, and I was, well, what if, and what if, and what if the stock doesn't do anything? And what if, this company doesn't succeed in the next few years? And So all of those things that go through our minds anytime we're dealing with change were very prevalent. And I called you the night before. I'll never forget. I had made the commitment to come on board. I was scheduled to transfer my license the next day. Nobody knew. And I called you and I burst into tears. I mean, I'm willing to admit that. I said, Shelley, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is huge. This is my only livelihood. I don't have someone to fall back on. And she was like, Meg, and your words to me, I will never forget. And I've used them so many times when I'm talking to other agents about the opportunity that EXP holds. You said to me, Meg Watson, you know me well enough to know that if I truly 100% didn't believe this was the best move for you and your kids, who I know you love, and we had spent a ton of time together as families, you said, I would have never called you in the first place. So I know without a shadow of a doubt, this is the best thing for you and for your family. And I just needed that little reassurance. And sure enough, came on board, have never, ever for a skinny second looked back. And my life does look very different now, personally, professionally. And, you know, I think, honestly, 80% of that I could attribute to the culture and the growth that I've experienced within EXP. And you know, it sounds silly to say you're grateful for a company, but I really am. And all the people in it, of course, that make it so awesome.
So Meg, elaborate on that a little bit. So if, you know, there's lots of people that watch this company from afar for quite a long time before they actually really dive into it or really understand how it's different. You know, most people think, you know, all real estate companies are the same. I've been at Keller Williams, Century 21, Remax. I mean, they're, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They got different splits, different, you know, education, whatever. So tell me, you know, what it's been like since you've made that move, and how is it different? And, you know, if someone said, well, it's just another real estate company, you know, it's just transactions and different splits and education, and, you know, what would you say to them from a cultural standpoint and environment and opportunity and all of that?
I think the hardest thing for agents to digest about this company is our culture. It's so easy to step back or to hear about us from afar, right? I can pretty much guarantee most agents in this town have heard of EXP at this point, because I'm not shy about it. I know the opportunity that is there to change people's lives, mine and my financial security. So being able to still do what we love and sell real estate at a level, support our clients as any wonderful full service international company does on steroids with EXP, you know, and then on top of that, have icing on the cake for more of a future financial stability is huge. So what I would say about culture is this, and Brent Go said it well. When I came on board, 5 days later was our one of our annual events that we have each year, EXP Con, our conference. And Shelley said, I said, Shelley, I can't go. I'm too busy worrying about signage and lockboxes and transferring listings. And she's like, Meg, you are so going. She said, you have to experience the culture of this company. So I met Brent there and met hundreds of agents who are now dear friends all over the country. And he sat me down on a couch, I'll never forget, in the lobby of that gorgeous hotel. And he said, I want you to remember these words. He said, these are going to resonate with you, but not for a little while. He said, this company is going to expand your mindset way beyond where you ever thought it would be possible. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's quite a sales pitch, you know, that's whatever. Like, how can a company, you know, I've always taken a lot of pride in being big-minded. And when I was in leadership, I remember Carolina One used to say I was the 30,000 foot thinker. because I like that. I like being up here and looking down and going, oh, well, in the next couple of years, you'd be looking at this. So, for him to say that to me, in my mind, I thought, my mind's pretty expanded already, like I'm an out of the box kind of thinker. Man, was he right. And he was right about two things. It takes a few months for you to start going, oh my gosh. And here's how. Here, for me anyway, this is how I describe it. As any normal agent with any normal company, I think we're pretty much the only company that's not normal these days. With any normal company, you lean in. Who? Who do you lean in on for support?
Your office.
Your office, right? I have a broker in charge. I have a team leader. I have a staff member that helps me if I have transactional stuff or whatever. I'm surrounded by my direct competition in my direct market, okay? And I'm pretty much limited to those four walls for my growth experience, all right? So I was a broker in charge for a long time. I remember the struggle getting people to come to the office. It's like pulling teeth. Come on, guys. Sales meeting is still happening tomorrow. It happens every Thursday at this time. Same ones always come in on a daily basis, right? We've all been there. The same 15 to 20 people are in the office every day, or 10 sometimes, depending on the branch. Same people come to the meetings. Same people come to the trainings. The same people teach the trainings. And in my mind, once I got into our mastermind groups and our collaboration between us and Charlotte and New York and Jersey and California, I realized first it blew me away. I'm like, why are they sharing so much in these trainings? And then I realized, well, number one, they're a shareholder in this company too, right? So if I'm successful in Charleston, South Carolina, whether they're in my market or any other market, they want me to have their secret sauce, because the more successful all of us are, the more our stock is going to thrive and the better our retirement plan looks. No other company has ever had that culture. So what it did for me was, when Brent's statement really made sense, was when I realized never again will I be stuck in four walls. It's never going to happen. Like my sphere, my referral basis, my relationships, my friendships have grown so deep nationwide, and I didn't even have to leave my house. Like, how does that happen? It really is a total mindset shift. But you don't get it until you experience it, right? Did you guys have the same experience? I know you did.
I felt very empowered, because I felt like people that were way far advanced to me in the real estate industry were like, saw me as an equal for the first time.
Yes, 100%.
And they were like, you know what, and we all aligned together, and they were willing to just help in any capacity possible. I mean, It's just incredible to me that the level of people and just good-hearted, giving people all working together. And like, I love meeting people. I get to talk to a lot of folks in Charleston, which is where I'm from. And then it turns out like my family is, one of the agents who I never knew was in my grandparents' house on the lake. And I mean, like, it's just so cool how connected we are. And then you see that person winning, and you're like champion their winning of what they're doing, because it's so exciting. And it feels great when someone says, hey, that's made a difference in my life, because that's really purpose is like the most important thing we can have on this earth. Yeah. And if you have purpose, then that's the most fulfilling thing. And I mean, I don't mean to go off on that tangent, but
100%. No. And I've often wondered, and I keep meaning to ask Glenn this when, we're on a call or whatever, but our founder, Glenn Sanford, he was such a visionary, right? With the whole technology side of things. Like, we don't need the brick and mortar anymore in this industry, which now I think has become extremely prevalent and recognized through COVID, especially. But he said, we don't need the brick and mortar. We can accomplish what we want out it in our universal campus. But I wonder often if he really knew the cultural impact that he was going to have on people.
She froze on us.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
I love this. This is fun. Come on, Meg.
Frozen in time.
Oh,
But on what Meg was saying, I think, when we were at our former brokerage, we didn't even communicate with people that were in the next town over, really, at the same brokerage company, the same franchise, let alone South Charlotte, where we are. I mean, nobody spoke to each other.
I mean,
no one really knew anything about it. There was no reason to.
There was no depth of relationship. I mean, not to say people didn't have relationships, but 10 miles away, you'd have another brick and mortar office, actually North Lake, and you might have a couple of relationships, cross sales with somebody, but you really didn't have the depth of relationship that we're so fortunate to have.
It definitely wasn't a business relationship, like in business together type of relationship. It was more of a business interaction relationship.
Right.
Hey, we're in the same industry, we do the same thing, how are you? But it wasn't like, hey, have you tried this, or I've tried that.
Am I back?
There she is.
I'm back. So sorry, guys.
No worries.
I like being able to do Zooms from my office, but it happens sometimes, so I have to move to my dining room. So sorry about that. So I was just saying that I've often wondered if he realized the real impact of one firm with no franchises. And to be honest, guys, one of the things I also was frustrated about in real estate in general was the fact that there was so much red tape and bureaucracy among any branch, any company. I don't care who you are, who you're with, where you are. There's people getting special deals. There are agents being bought to stay with the company. There's, so-and-so gets more leads, blah, blah, blah. This company has no titles. It's the craziest thing to digest. But we have our, of course, executive leadership team. We have a board of directors for eXp World Holdings, our holding company. But other than that, it's like, we have our staff, 450 staff members that support us and help us and assist us. But it takes all that away. Like, we're all just in this together and growing it and expanding it and helping each other grow our businesses. And the training and the masterminds are just phenomenal for top producers, especially because of the ICON program, right? I mean, the ICON program blows everything away. But anyway, I've always wondered if he truly realized the impact the one firm with no franchises culture was going to have. It's really neat.
I think another thing that the culture is really driven and made happen is it allows, my definition of a leader is someone with a talent that can make a difference, that is willing to stand up. So they don't have to be a top producer. They don't have to be, they're just willing to add to the momentum of the better good of the group.
Right.
And I think this environment that has been created by this model allows people that they may even be a brand new agent, but they have a special skill or a special talent. And because they're in this environment, they feel it's okay to stand up and say, hey, I could help with that.
Yeah.
And they do. And it creates this environment of everyone running together, like you said, Meg, as an equal. And I think that's why it's growing, by 1,500 to 2,000 agents per month.
That's insane.
I mean,
every time I say that statistic, I end up being behind the curve. I just said 1,000 agents per month the other day, and I can't keep up. Like, it's growing so fast. I do want to mention really quick that one of the most fun aspects of the growth for me has been to watch the level of talent that we've gotten. And that was something I was really nervous about when I first heard about it, right? With only 3,000 people nationwide. I mean, you guys with your $90 million team, I think at the time you were $45 million team, right?
Yep.
You were one of the biggest players that had come on board yet, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I mean, it's like every day top teams and top companies and, you know, independents are rolling in, and the Icon program is 100%. I mean, I wouldn't say 100%. I think we have definitely proven who we are as an organization within the industry. So that's a huge help. But then secondly, when a top producer really takes the time to listen and find out that they get their entire $16,000 cap handed back to them in company stock, who does that? You know, and I love the example that you guys use. You know, I don't have a team. I have a huge team of EXP agents now, an organization that I help support. But real estate team, you know, I just told Shelley I've managed enough real estate agents in my life. I think I'm just going to do it solo. But I love how you guys take that stock, you know, and of course, from the time you earn it, there's a 3-year vesting period for the Icon program. So it's tripled by the time those 3 years comes up. So really you're getting much more. You have the opportunity to get much more than $16,000 back. So that to me is one of the biggest game changers that we offer. And I'm noticing here in the Charleston area specifically, you know, top producers sit back and watch for a while. You guys were very, very smart to be one of the first leaders, you know, production wise in your market to say, we're on board. There's no holes to poke in this. And, you know, it's been such a game changer for you guys. How much do you have? How many people in your organization now? Like 1,400?
It's crazy.
About 1,470 or 80, something like that.
Insane. And how many states?
We're in at least over 35 states, and we're in the UK. We're hoping to be in Australia one day, and Canada. Actually, I was on the phone this morning with a guy in Canada. And Craig and I talked to people, like Craig was talking to a gentleman in Australia. And I mean, it's just incredible to think that our little team, Craig and Shelley, we were just heads down, hardworking, like, let's get it done. Really, I mean, Meg, you know better than anybody.
I do.
Just like do your job kind of people, and, you know, do it well, and see what happened with it is just incredible. And the cool thing is, this is what I love, is that every single person has the exact same opportunity.
Right.
You could have your first day of your license, and if you put the effort into it, you can build an awesome real estate team, and you can build an organization no different. In fact, I was talking to Gene this morning, and he said that, you know, Shelley, there are people that are going to be bigger than me because they're going to influence more. They're going to have a bigger group come with them.
Right.
And it's just a matter of who. You know, so that's exciting for every agent in this company right now. Everybody thinking about coming to be a part of it.
Well, and when you look at teams and independent companies, and one of the reasons I kind of wanted to mention them specifically today is with everything that's happening with COVID, right? I think it has given everyone the time to step back and maybe research things more, and think about how their business looks and how they need to trim it, how they need to cut out some expenses. I think if you're not doing that, you're behind the curve at this point. But small companies, my gosh, you know, my heart has hurt for them because I know the margins in real estate companies. I know how small they are. I know how difficult it is to make a profit as an independent real estate brokerage and as a franchise for that matter. I mean, these franchise expenses, all that overhead expense, it hasn't stopped for the past couple of months, right? So those owners are feeling more stress. The leadership is feeling more stress. The agents are feeling more stress. But when you take the stock piece of it for the Icon, right? And the fact that you're awarded stock just for your regular production as well, But when you look at teams and independent companies specifically, they are coming on board immediately. Whoever the one that makes the decision is, the team leader or the company leader, they're immediately coming on board with built-in revenue share from the people that came on with them. So, I love how you guys have talked about how the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you've earned in revenue share has been able, part of it, you've just been able to go back and put it right back into your team and not stress about it. Hey, do we need more leads through this time? Great, let's take a piece of our revenue share this month and throw it at more leads without it coming out of your individual pocket as a leader. And that's why we're getting 1,500 to 2,000 agents a month now, is people are saying, gosh, this is real. And all it is a company sharing 50% of its revenue straight back with its agents as a reward. That's it. You don't even have to be a part of that, but you're crazy not to if you have a team. I mean, if you have a team, you're immediately a part of it anyway. So yeah, it's definitely been a game changer. I've been able to help new independent companies come on board. One from Indiana, one from North Carolina, up there in Charlotte, and all just through organic relationships that either I have or friends of mine have that call me up and say, Meg, you need to talk to our buddy that owns a real estate company that's struggling, or you need to talk to a friend of mine in Tennessee that it has a team and is looking for more growth opportunities. So it's just been such a blessing all the way around for my stability. I have no idea what question we started with that, you guys, but
no, I think that's some great points, Meg. And I mean, I look at like an EXP organization as almost like a silent partner ownership. It's like an ownership group. You're building an ownership group with other people from around the country and around the world. And Shelley and I were we were going to leave the company we were at and start a boutique, and you gave us some great advice and not to do that, which really made us think a little bit more. And then when this was put in front of us, EXP, it made the bigger picture a lot clearer for us. But to your point, that's happening daily now with teams, with small boutiques, even with larger independent companies. There was I think a 700 agent company that came to EXP in Arizona. There's much larger ones right now, I know for a fact, that they're talking with. And they are, to your point, thinking about the same things that Shelley and I talked about and thought about after speaking to you and going through this process. Nobody wants liability. They don't want to worry about the liability. So especially when you have a lot of agents, so you could move to this company and have the liability go under the umbrella of the systems that they have. The technology's in place, the education is in place, and you can scale it beyond belief. You can make it as large as you want. So all of these companies and teams are starting to recognize that, you know what, we can be in an ownership group, reap the benefits of joining together as one, and not have to worry about all the things that we don't want to, which is the expenses, coming up with the curriculum for education, and then of course the liability. I mean, I think that's what's really making people eyes.
And I think too, scalability, right? For those independent companies. I got a call from Kemp Brenneman, who I helped, he rolled his company into EXP 2 years ago almost now. And I was introduced to Kent. Here he's in Southern Indiana. I'm in Charleston, because I just did a brief video when I first joined the company saying, this is the smartest real estate model I've ever seen. And a guy walked up to me. Anybody that knows me knows I love Starbucks. So of course I was in line at Starbucks, and this guy walks up to me that I recognized, but I didn't know well. And he said, hey, do you remember me from marching band? Our kids were in marching band together at Wando. And I said, yeah. He goes, I saw your video on Facebook. What's up with this new company? So we sat down, had a cup of coffee, and he said, you have got to talk to my best friend in Southern Indiana, who is really struggling right now, trying to keep up with technology and training and E&O insurance and all the overhead and growth. He said he's got people in his market that want to come work for him, but they want more technology. They want more training. They want things that some of the bigger companies can give them. So he said he's literally right now in negotiations to franchise with a company. And I go, stop, tell him we need to talk before he signs. So we did. We got on the phone within a couple of days. And I think two really neat things about that, Craig, are they get to keep the brand that they have worked so long and hard. And I guess I, for one, definitely understand that, because my maiden name is Rao, and we had a little tiny office in Farmer City, Illinois called Rao Realty, right? And I would leave school, elementary school, walk from school to Rao Realty and become the secretary from like 3 to 5. And I loved it. You know, I had the big, huge desk and I felt so important. That was our family business. So I understand the commitment to and the blood, sweat, and tears that were put into creating a brand. No different than a team, right? If a company had said to you, yeah, LePage Johnson Realty Group, you can come on, but your name on your signs can be this big and our name needs to be this big. No, that's not what you've worked so long and hard for. So I think agents have gotten so much smarter. The models, how we operate, teams and expansion teams and all that, have come so far, but the companies themselves have not come as far as the agents, except for EXP. And there's something, oh, that's one thing I was gonna say. Kent Brenneman called me. See, I get distracted. I am a realtor for sure. Kent Brenneman called me a few days ago and said, hey, so-and-so from Kentucky, remember Kent's in Indiana, when I was out there helping them onboard and doing a big event for their joining EXP a couple of years ago, he had me do a phone call with a kid named Jonathan. And he said, you know, it's a friend of mine. He lives in Kentucky. He's a rock star agent. I want him to know about this opportunity in Kentucky because he needs to be on the ground floor, right? So we talked to him, you know, and every once in a while he would check back in. Anyway, last week when the shareholder summit was happening, Kent said, hey, he's jumping into our breakout sessions. And I said, mark my words, it's not going to be long now. He's coming up. And sure enough, he did. So, you know, now could Kent have ever taken his local little house hunter real estate brand and hired a guy in Kentucky? No, not without brick and mortar, not without a broker in charge at that branch, not without a ton of expense. And now they're going to get to work together, no overhead, no nothing. So I do love that piece. I mean, I love every piece of this company, but that's.
Meg, you talked about technology and being, you know, basically agile. And I think that's one of the most important things about EXP also is the agility of the model. So you just said with a franchise type of brokerage model, they fall behind with technology and the way things are done. And that happens because there's a corporate company and the corporate company makes a decision, but then they have to go to all the franchise owners and make sure everybody agrees on what's going to happen. Then they have to put it in place. And because they're all one thing, they have to create a curriculum with books and class curriculum in order to make this happen. And they have to do a rollout. And then that takes so long. And if something's wrong at one of the different franchises, they have to report back, make an adjustment, and then do it. And that's why it takes so long for these things to roll out. And they're already behind.
I was going to say, by that time, the next thing has come out, right? And they're, oh gosh, we're going to.
So by not having franchises at EXP is very agile. They can pivot or make a move or, you know, make a change to technology instantly. And we're all in one place to take advantage of that. It doesn't have to roll out and go through all these different levels before it happens.
It's funny. Craig and I were offered an opportunity to buy into our franchise. I think they wanted to give us to buy it at $75,000
for 5%.
I remember you calling me about that too.
And it was going to take 6 years to actually recover that $75,000 before we ever made a dime. And I mean, it was flattering to be offered that. But this company, you walk in as an owner as soon as you do your first transaction. And I don't have to pay $1 to them to be an owner. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like the franchise opportunities, I feel like, are lockdowns. Do not sign a franchise agreement. You own nothing. You really, they can kick you out. It's on their terms, and you really own nothing. It's just a way to lock you into their company, and then you lose out on further opportunities. That's my personal opinion. I mean, other people may disagree, but that's my personal feeling. I just think that you know, when you're a top agent, they can try to buy you. They can try to offer you some kind of ownership, but when you really look at it, like this company doesn't ask you for anything. They just say, come do your best. Come be your best, be your best realtor. Come as you are. We're not going to try and change your brand, and do the best you can do. And we're going to reward you for that. I mean, that's amazing to me.
Well, and reward you in a way that no other company has the capability of rewarding you. And I think that's where, when I say this literally is the most brilliant, you know, real estate model, I wish I had thought of it. And the fact that he thought of it 10 years ago blows my mind. Like that just shows where our founder's mind is and how far advanced he is in technology. But yeah, culturally, I have absolutely not one negative thing that I could possibly say about it. I will say this, I know we probably need to wrap this up fairly soon, but one of the things as I was thinking about this interview today, I thought, you know, what was my driving force? I think everybody has a driving force, and a lot of people call it, what is your why? My why made some huge shifts. My why has always been my 3 kids, by the way, who I really haven't talked about, but I do have 3 awesome kids who are all adults now. But they've always been my why. But my why definitely shifted when my parents passed away. And I remember they were such amazing people. I remember being at the funerals for both of them, and I had the privilege of speaking at both of the funerals. And I loved the fact that when I went to write the eulogies for them, there were so many good things to say. I had not nearly enough time, right? It was one of those, where do you begin? Where do I even begin to describe the legacy that these people are leaving in their path, in their wake? And that's when it shifted for me. So interestingly enough, I had moved back to Charleston. I had been here about 3 years, really solely focusing on my son and getting us kind of resituated here. I definitely came in under the radar when I came back to focus on him. And at the end of that, we used to have a lot of conversations, Shelley. I remember a lot of sleepless nights and tears and crazy stuff going on in my world there for a little while. But I remember as I came out of that fog thinking, it needs to all be about my legacy now. Like, what am I doing for the kids to make sure that solely by myself, if I never get married again or not, or even if I do, by myself, what am I going to do to secure a really awesome financial future for myself and a legacy for them? And I wanted to build something again. You know, I had that urge to build something. So my goals were build something again, but I did not want to own my own company. You would have shot me because I told you not to own your own company. You would have shot me.
That evening, I was like, I remember I was sitting in Burkdale Park. I was like, oh man. And I literally did 7 laps around Burkdale.
Because I was like, Shelley, don't do it. Don't do it, please. I love you.
Master plan. Don't mess up my plan, Meg.
Yeah. So I wanted to build something again. I wanted to fill the rest of my career giving back to this industry, being able to help people, you know, but usually to do that, you have to be a coach. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that I really wanted to sit all day coaching. I still wanted to be on the sales side. And so when you called me and I watched the webinar about EXP, I just remember the word legacy just kept resonating. And, everything that I was looking to do to secure a financial future for myself and for my family, and to give back to the community and give back to others, it was all right there, and it didn't cost me anything. I was like, normally I would be creating a coaching company from scratch, or, starting a company and finding an office and signing expensive leases and hiring staff. And, I'm now able to support close to 140 agents on a daily basis in it's either 6 or 7 different states now. While I'm still, working with my clients and providing full service in an industry that I just adore. And I will tell you, financially, for over a year, I have been able to pay all of my monthly bills and then some. Last month, it was 3 months worth of all of my monthly bills in one revenue share deposit on the 22nd of the month. And, mind you, I didn't recruit those 140 people. I only talked to 16 of my close friends who have ended up coming on board under, directly under me. So those 16 people have equated now to 140. And, you've been telling me all along, Meg, when you reach that 125, 150 mark, it just starts exploding and you don't know where it's coming from. It's already getting there, which is so exciting and rewarding, super, super rewarding. So it's making a big difference for me. That doesn't even include my stock that just continues to grow on a daily basis. And I just couldn't be happier. I think in life, fear has been a big buzzword these last few months. I think we've all felt fear like we've never felt before. I know I have when it comes to our health, right? I'm a healthy person. I eat fairly healthy besides the pizza. We take care of ourselves. I want to make sure I am here longevity-wise for my family, but I'm in control of those things. And here we were feeling so fearful and so out of control. And I literally thought about this a few weeks ago, listening to the news a little bit, which I tried not to do hardly at all. But I thought to myself, it's amazing how fear can either grip us or it can push us forward. And I'm super glad that I allowed the fear to push me forward in this opportunity. And I would just say to anyone that hasn't heard about us yet, and when I say heard about us, I mean had a hour-long conversation with someone that's been within the company and really taken the time to digest the model and how we're so different, then if you have not done that, there are 2 things I would say. What does it hurt to learn what your competition that is expanding and growing so quickly is doing, right or wrong, right? What does it hurt you to learn that? And number 2, I would say financially, you owe it to yourself to look into it, especially for people that have influence within their community, within their real estate community, that have a team or have a company. But like you've said, every single person has the same opportunity. And I love that about it. So if you haven't taken the opportunity to really listen, there's no better time than now. And I think, what we all say is once you see it, you can't unsee it. Whether that means that it's the perfect fit for you now or it's the perfect fit for you in 3 years, it doesn't hurt to learn the facts about it. So
there's no expectation for people to, when they learn it. I mean, it's just a matter of understanding it and how it affects you and your family. And like you said, it may not be for everybody, but it's for most people. That's what I'm finding. And if anybody sorry, Craig, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, at least it gives you the opportunity to have an intelligent conversation about it if someone else is talking about it.
Right.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%.
Wants to learn more, reach out to Meg Watson. Meg, would you mind sharing your phone number and contact information so that
Of course. Yeah, it's 843-697-9985. And my email is meg at Charleston Homes with an S group.com. Meg at charlestonhomesgroup.com.
Because
But
I'm
yeah,
sure a lot of agents that want to know more about your story, or maybe you've really hit a spot with them as far as like where they are in their life. And you know, life's not easy, and we're all going to hit these spots where we're just kind of like maybe feel like we're swirling for a minute, and we just
Yep.
need a guiding light or some kind of a beacon to kind of pull us in the right direction. And I think sometimes it's just like being able to relate to someone who's been through different things, like
sure.
losing your parents or children that have had, you know, your children are amazing, but have been
Yeah.
through the struggles of raising children and single mom. And, you know, the cool thing is like when you join our company, you don't just get one person, you get everybody.
You get a tribe. It's like a tribe, whether you want it or not. We should call ourselves the tribe.
We should.
Yeah.
I
No.
just want to make sure I got your number and everything out there, because
Yeah. No, and definitely, you know, even if it's just, hey, I'm new in the business, whatever market you're in, feel free to reach out. I absolutely, you know, adore having conversations and helping people. It doesn't have to be anything about EXP. So, you know, like I said, part of my legacy is just giving back right now, and I'm loving it. And I love you guys, and I'm so grateful for you making me listen a few years ago. And for, you know, your friendship and your guidance. And, you know, I love being able to work hand in hand on a daily basis with y'all. I miss you. Hopefully I'll get to see you soon again in person.
Right. I need to get down to Charleston and see my family down there when they
Yes.
it's okay to do that.
Thank you guys again. I mean,
we love working with you, and we appreciate your time and appreciate you.
Thank
Thanks, man.
you.
You're a great leader, an amazing leader, and people in your group are just thriving because of your direction and willingness to stand up. And that's what people have to do right now, is stand up together, and we'll all be fine.
We will all be fine. And, you know, my heart also goes out to any of those that might be affected, or that have spouses that have lost their jobs or have become ill. And, you know, if there's anything I can do for people that are here in the Charleston area or not, please let me know. Like, I am looking to give back in any way that I can, you know, through all of this.
Business owners, let us collaborate. That's how things happen, is when you collaborate. It doesn't have to be the same industry, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, for being
welcome.
Doing this with us. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
I know. I hope.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.